Terry McCrann, without doubt, one of the best business commentators in the country. You see him so often with our dear friend Andrew Bolt here. I'm borrowing him just for a second. You can otherwise read him in The Australian or the Daily Telegraph. So thank you for allowing me a little bit of your time here tonight,
Great
Terry.
to be with you, Paul.
So I read your piece today and I was fascinated by the crossroads that we're at right now about, yes, the potential of where all of this could be, but how we manage to make sure that that potential doesn't become disaster. For those that didn't read it, let's get to your central thesis here.
Well, the basic point, Paul, is that we're seeing Victoria 2.0 playing out in New South Wales right now. Last year, Victoria went in lockdown for 3 months. It really slashed the growth in the national economy, obviously not just in Victoria. And that was when we still had JobKeeper, still had JobKeeper putting $750 a week into the hands of 3.6 million Australians, not just in Victoria, but right around the country. Now we're seeing New South Wales, which is even more important to the national economy. Victoria about 1/4, New South Wales closer to 1/3 of the national economy. Wow. New South Wales is heading in that same direction. And we don't have JobKeeper. You can debate whether we should. That's a separate issue. But we don't have JobKeeper. So that if this goes as long as Victoria, the damage done to the New South Wales economy will be much worse than we saw happen to Victoria last year. And it will flow into the national economy. And so this could put a real crunch into the recovery that's been taking place since the second half of last year.
So this is why I went out of my way. You know, my family's full of small business people and they're understandably frightened, right? They'll be watching this right now. I love you all, guys. But what's really important here is that it's good that there's that disaster payment for all those different workers, and I've given that number 500 times, right? But I'm really concerned by that New South Wales package because the New South Wales package claims they're going to step in and help businesses, but it doesn't kick in until a month. The JobKeeper system was essentially an instantaneous one. So again, we can talk about the rates and the numbers and all the rest of it. But would you agree that the New South Wales package has to be available now, not just available for application now?
Oh, absolutely, Paul. I mean, we've got this deal between Canberra and the state premiers that the Canberra will be responsible for payments directly to workers. Last year it was JobKeeper. This year it's either JobSeeker or a slightly enhanced JobSeeker in the situations, but they don't get it for the first week. After the first, the worker basically has to cop it if they lose their job or they stood down for the first week, and then the lower payment kicks in. But the states have to pick up the tab for the business sector. And not only is it going to be delayed in the New South Wales case, but the quantum is quite inadequate. I mean, we saw in the case of Victoria, which had the short lockdown last month, it was much, the threat was much less. That was quite damaging, and a lot of businesses suffered really severely. So the prospect for businesses in New South Wales is really, really serious. And having gone through the last 12 months with the sort of uncertainties, but looking good in New South Wales, the shock not only to the actual cash flows, but to their business confidence is going to be pretty dramatic. And yes, you're absolutely right. The money has to start flowing right now. I mean, what do you do when somebody's drowning? You don't say, well, we'll get you the air support in about a week. But no, you need it right now.
Well, this is it. The demand's disappeared. It's either disappeared because of literally people aren't physically able to walk into shops, or obviously that scenario where literally some people aren't able to access the places where they would be able to go and carry out all sorts of work. Terry, I love talking to you. I look forward to doing it again. Thank you, mate.